Hi everyone, I'm Gabrielle Barboteau. I'm a game developer. I'm a French game developer. So first thing, I'm a little stressed and I have a very strong French accent. So I hope everyone will understand me clearly. And if you don't, just ask me questions in the chat. So as I said, I'm a video game developer and I mostly use a software called Twine. Twine, what's Twine? Twine is a software, as I said, which is used to create text-based game. So basically, it's this. So it looks like this. So there's little boxes, there's little arrows, and you just have to write text in it. It's really simple. Even children can use it. For example, a few months ago, I animated a workshop for children, for 8 years old children, and they learned to make games in literally 2 hours, and that was awesome. So Twine is also used a lot in the queer community, in the transgender community. There's a lot of trans women who made games using Twine. For example, some women like Ananthropy or Meritkopas made games about their own experiences, about, I don't know, transphobia, about the bodies, about little things. And there's a movement that emerged from this. This is the queer games movement, where queer people, trans people, created games about their own experiences, about their joy, their fears, their about everything. And so last year, I made a game about trans misogyny. So why I made this game? I don't know for the USA, but in France, people don't know what a transgender people is. I mean, for example, two days ago, I went to the college to check a few things, and all the staff thought that transgender people were in fact gay men. So it was a little hard to explain to them the concept of trans identity, and it's really hard to explain that. So explaining transphobia is harder, and explaining trans misogyny is way harder. So and there's also in the LGBT community a lot of trans misogyny. I don't know for the rest of the world, but in France, the leader of the LGBT community are mostly cis, gay, white men. So 90% of the leader are cis, gay, white dude. And there's no place for transgender women, for trans women of color, and almost, I'll give you an example to show you what the situation is. It was last year, I was talking with a guy who told me, and I quote, who told me, trans women can be nice guys because they were raised like men. And it doesn't mean they're not with women, but they can behave like men. End of the quote. This is his words, not mine. So hearing this made me a little angry. And I had a few possibilities to deal with it. I could start a fight, and I didn't because it's not advised. I could stay alone and be angry alone, and it's not advised either. So I made a game about trans misogyny, because making games is the only thing I know. I'm not good at anything else. So I made a game called, I give you a link if you want to check. I made a game called Not a Girl, which is basically it's a very simple game. The structure is very simple. It's just three little stories about transmisogyny and a little conclusion. And I just wanted to make this game to show people what transmisogyny is and to let them know that this is a bad thing. Because, as I said in France, to say it simply, we have 20, 30 years of late comparing to the USA. So you take the situation of transgender people in the 90s in the USA, and you have basically the situation of transgender people in France today. So I made a game about transmisogyny. Transmisogyny. Sorry, I'm a little stressed, and it worked well. It took 3 weeks to create it. It wasn't an intense creation. I think I spent 15 hours making this game. And as I said, Twine is really simple to use. When I started using it 3 years ago, I didn't have any programming knowledge. I barely even knew how to use a computer, honestly. And it's so simple. It's so simple that you just want to make games with it, and that's it. I made a game, and I published it. And you know, a few years ago, like 10 years ago, publishing a game was really hard because you had to find a publisher, you had to find a distributor, you have to. There was a lot of barriers that did that people couldn't make them like they want. And now you just have to put it on the internet. You can make small games like that last 5 minutes. For example, Not a Girl, it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes maximum, and that's it. So I made this game, and what next? I published it, and I waited a few days, and it had a little impact. The stories I tell in this game are all real. They all happen to me, and people recognize themselves, and they improved. For example, the guy that said trans women can be nice guys, when he came to apologize, and now is less shitty in his behavior. So that's an improvement, and that's how I fought transphobia using video games, using Twine. I just made a little game in 3 weeks. I released it, and people change. It's not. I didn't change the world, obviously, but you know, baby steps. I changed the behavior of few people, and now in France, when there's a friend that asks me, "What is trans misogyny?" I say, "Wait a minute, I made a game about it. Here we go." And now I saw that a lot more people around me knew what transmisogyny is, what transphobia is, and that's pretty much everything. So I want to talk about one last thing before to finish this talk. Twine is really simple to use, and you can all make games, and that's the point of my talk, because Twine is a really awesome tool to share stories, to share personal stories, to share pamphlets, and I think everybody in this room, everybody's watching this me talking, have something to tell. So I'm gonna show you a few steps how to learn Twine. So okay, so a few things. First, you just download Twine. I put the link in the chat. Twine is a totally free software. It's open source and it's available on Windows, on Mac, on Linux, and yeah, just download it. Download it. The next step is follow the tutorial. The tutorial is very simple, it's very clear, but honestly, I'm not a huge fan of tutorial. I learn more quickly, more easily when I see people doing the things. So you can go to a workshop. I know there's a lot of workshops in the USA. In France, I made some workshop myself, and generally the people making these workshops are very friendly because, as I say, the Twine community is mostly queer and LGBT and transgender, so it's a very welcoming community. And next step, just make your own game. Thanks for the link in the chat. The next step is just making your own games. You just take one afternoon and you just write, and you can make a game. I don't know, about your cat, about something that happened to you. You can make all type of game in Twine. I mean, I made games about, I don't know, I made games about little monkeys, I made games about toxic relationships, I made the Power of Dark Souls, I made games about my book. So you can do pretty much everything. And this is probably the point of my talk. You can make games, you can using them to fight transphobia or fight everything that you have to fight. And that's pretty much everything. Do you guys do you people have any question? How long does it take to make a game? So it really depends on the game. But generally speaking, because I'm a very lazy person, it takes me 2 weeks to a month for a game using Twine. In terms of hours, I'd say between, I don't know, around 15, 20 hours. But you know, it depends really of the length of your game. If you want to make a really, really huge text-based adventure, like in the old times with the books, in the books you play with dice, well, it can take you 100 hours. But if you want to make small games about, I don't know, your cat, it can take you 2 hours. For example, I saw the kids that were at the workshop I animated. They made a few games in 3 hours. They were very simple games. Where I remember one of those games consisted in choosing what was your favorite Pokemon, but it's still cool. And yeah, so basically to answer your question, it really depends. There is no answer to this question, but personally speaking, it's between 15 and 20 hours. Is there any more question? So my next game. Currently, I'm doing the Ludum Dare, which is a game jam. A game jam, it's basically you have to make a game in a short time, generally 2 or 3 days, and there is a theme. So the theme of the game jam I'm doing right now is the Ludum Dare. The theme is ancient technology. So I'm making a game about the Minitel Rose. So the Minitel is something that was very popular in France during the 90s and that died just a few years ago. It's, how to say it simply, this is the missing link between the telephone and the internet. And so, this is the French ancestor of the internet. And it was still alive until a few years ago. And there is something that was very popular during the 90s on the Minitel. It was what they call the messagerie rose. So the concept of a messagerie rose is there was huge companies that paid people, mostly women, but also men, to chat with strangers on the internet about their erotic fantasy. And my current project is making a game about one of these women that worked for this company, talking with strangers about the sexual fantasy. And yeah, that's it.